talk with us and find out why so many experienced investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments, clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
The following program is a paid presentation. The views and/or opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of KWAM. Welcome to the Variety Hour on the
This is the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. I am your host, Dean Harris. I'm with CrestCore Realty over on Summer Avenue. Thank you guys for tuning in this morning at AM 990 Memphis, FM 107.9. or if you're online at kwam990.com. Appreciate you tuning in all of those three ways. Of course, Facebook Live. We're always live with the show. You can go to the Facebook page, The Memphis Real Estate Hour, and you can watch us this morning and every morning that we're here live. And you can go to the Facebook page and check out all the past shows that we've done. We post them up there and leave them up there. So you can check those out at your leisure. The Memphis Real Estate Hour, guys, will concentrate on investing in Memphis real estate, and we will focus on our residential market as well. We'll have local national vendors, partners of ours on the show from time to time, and they'll share their knowledge with you on how to become a better investor or a new investor. And I remind you guys every single show that I am an investor. So if you've got that house that's out there, it's been burned up, trashed, inherited, whatever the situation may be, wherever the house may be at, I'll be happy to give you a cash offer on that house today. You can text me at 901-619-6170, and we'll go ahead and get you that cash offer today. I wanted to bring up our website, too, CrestCoreRealty.com. It's www.CrestCoreRealty.com. All of our investments of the week are on there. All of my listings are on there. I think we're at 85, 86 active listings right now for investment properties. So you guys feel free to jump on that website and check that out. You can register to become a preferred buyer on there. So it's www.CrestCoreRealty.com. So you guys be sure to check that out as well. Last week on the show, Dan Butler was in studio with us, and we talked about 6 ways to accurately assess rental property. A lot of good feedback from that show. Several questions this past week came from it. So if you guys have got some questions about that, or you want to rewatch that show from last week, 6 ways to accurately assess rental property, you can go to the show's Facebook page, The Memphis Real Estate Hour. You can check that out there. So today's show, I'm going to have 2 more properties for investments of the week. We'll do those at the bottom of the hour. And then Dan Butler is in studio with me. This morning we're going to talk about top 10 mistakes that out-of-town investors make. Let's jump right into that, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm excited about this one because a large portion of my clientele is out of town.
Yeah.
California seems to be a popular,
right. A lot of 1031.
A lot of 1031 exchange action coming out of California. So let's jump into this.
And why is that? What is that? Why are they telling you they're doing the 1031? They're moving from what to what?
They're moving money from one investment to another one.
Yeah.
And
like appreciative investments.
That's right. And they have to be similar and like products.
Yeah.
But they're selling, it's a tax benefit, that they're selling some type of asset or property or properties in California, and they're wanting some better returns and better numbers, so they're coming here.
Flow.
Cash flow is a lot better. So that's Before we jump right onto this top 10 mistakes that out-of-town investors make, the article that came out this week.
Yeah, it's timely posting you found.
Yeah, I put it on the show's Facebook page, but it talked about some of the top cities in our country to invest in.
Yep.
And Memphis was, I think, overall number 10, but we were number 1 in
cash rent to price ratio.
Right.
Yep.
So in other words, for what you can buy a house for here versus the rent,
Right.
we were number 1. So
number 10 in total return on investment.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in other words, I mean, if you're buying your $40,000 and $50,000 houses and we're getting $800 and $850 rent, that's what they're talking about. So some of those things there we're really proud of. If you want to check out that article, you can go to the show's Facebook page, the Memphis Real Estate Hour, and find that there.
Who's number 1? Nashville?
Nashville was.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
3 hours away, and that's all appreciation in it. I mean,
Yeah.
majority of it.
Not a whole lot of cash flow.
Right.
Everything's so expensive.
Yeah.
But everything's appreciating, so
going up.
That's right.
Skyscrapers everywhere.
It just depends on what you know what, that is funny. The cranes are all over the place up there. Something I hadn't seen in growing up as a kid.
I know, it's crazy.
Being up there, seeing all that. But this morning we're going to talk about top 10 mistakes out-of-town investors make. The number one, I like our notes here, is starting out too fast.
Yeah.
I get a ton of people that come in and they've got X amount of dollars and they can't wait to spend it.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but you have to be calculated with that.
Well, unfortunately, the ones that why it comes up to me is one of the top ones is we end up cleaning up a lot of the mess of people that don't follow our methodology.
Yep.
And being systematic and methodical and taking one at a time and just blasting out of the gate with hundreds of thousands of dollars of property.
Just slinging money
everywhere without going through the other top 10 that we're going to go through, next. And then they find themselves in trouble. They just.
Yeah, and if they'll give us control of it, I can help that. Yeah. But if you're out there just wheeling and dealing and you're going 90 miles an hour, it puts me in a bad spot of trying to control what you're buying,
right?
Where you're buying it at. How did that happen last week? I had a guy call me and say, we had already bought 2 properties here in East Memphis, and he said, man, I just locked one up in Frazier in 38127. I was like, you did? I was like, how'd you jump from
East Memphis
to up there? And of course, he got penciled into it. He saw the numbers and he saw the return, and it was something he said he could not resist. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, trying to mix up properties in northwest Shelby County versus in East Memphis is too hard.
Well, it's a very extreme.
Yeah, from one thing to the other.
Right.
It's I couldn't believe he did it. But define too fast to me. When you hear, too fast, is it just literally what you said, going out and buying just property after property?
Yeah, I mean, and just picking the wrong partner, and that's probably part of this. If I think about just all these top 10, it's really just having the wrong partner.
Yeah.
If I really think about it, I hadn't thought of it that way until just now. But if you have the right partner, they're not going to let you get into all these situations we're about to talk about. And so, for whatever reason, I've become kind of the fix-up guy, in town, and to help fix up portfolios that, they bought. I mean, I had one guy. Where was I? I was last week, and he's out of Seattle, and bought all these houses with a guy, paid him for the rehab up front, which that's another one of our topics. But just slung out, 7, 8 houses at one time, and none of them are rented, none of them are done.
Man.
He's trying to figure out what to do. He's trying to salvage it's a lose-lose situation. And so we got to come in and fix it up. So
you're the cleanup guy. Doesn't the mob have one of those?
That's right. Which is good and bad, right? You look good because you're helping somebody fix something, and by doing it credibly and with integrity and all that. But at the same time, you feel bad because they're starting out on the wrong foot. I mean,
you feel bad because you're having to clean up something.
Yeah, they're starting to went 2 steps forward and 5 steps backwards, and so instead of 2 steps forward and then the 3rd and the 4th, they're going backwards to try to dig themselves out and then move forward. So just starting out too fast is just not, without doing some of those stuff we're going to talk about next.
If you're not experienced,
that's right.
I would say this.
That's a great point.
So if you're experienced, I've got one guy that he's buying 5 right now. Well, he owns 30 or 40, so.
No,
but he's new to our market.
Yeah.
So he is he gets it a little bit more.
This isn't his first rodeo.
No, But if you're, I also have the investor. I've got a guy we're closing 3 this month. It's his first 3.
Yeah.
Now he's not going to buy any more for several months.
Yeah,
so
smart.
It's smart. So he's going to get those occupied. There's 2 out of the 3 are occupied. So he's going to get the last one occupied, let it sit there for a few months, and just kind of let it season. So there's several different ways you can go about it.
And to your point, I mean, years ago, say 7, 8 years ago, 10, even maybe 7, 8, 10 years ago, for me to do 20 houses in a year was just gangbusters. That's all I could do, barely holding the reins.
And now that's
I really weren't. The wheels were falling off, trying to hold them on as best I could. I was working 2 jobs, but and now we got the systems in place, and to plop 20 in at one time is wouldn't be that big a deal. And I could do that in a month now, where it took me a year. So it's just different levels of gaining that experience, gaining that wisdom, gaining the right partners, and then you can go fast. You always hear that. Go crawl before we walk, before we run. So
we talk about this all the time on the show, but the partnerships to me is huge.
Huge.
If you don't have the right property management, if you don't have the right attorneys, if you don't have the right agents or whatever,
insurance, all that.
Everything.
My first insurance, they weren't a partner. They gave me the wrong insurance package, and I was dead in the water the first month out of the gate with a fire and all that stuff. So, and to that point, I probably started out too fast. I mean, I started out with a 19-unit apartment. I always joke that was a good and bad thing, right?
Threw you right into it.
Threw me right into it. So, from a short-term perspective, it was bad. Long-term, it was awesome. But I just, didn't have the right partners to first set things up.
Number 1, we starting out too fast. That's a big one. Number 2, buying in the wrong area, chasing yields.
Especially for out-of-town investors.
Yeah,
a local guy can get it. It's much more doable.
I always say to my investors, don't let a spreadsheet sell you. Don't take an Excel spreadsheet from somebody and let that sell you. Talk to somebody. Figure out because I have guys call me all the time. Man, Dean, I saw you on Bigger Pockets, or I saw you on here. I found a property. It's $17,000. It rents for $600. I want 10 of them. Like, let's talk about where that's at and what you found. And sure enough, every single time they give me a zip code that's not very desirable.
Yeah.
Or they show me pictures of the house, and I can already tell you that it's not going to be a winner for you. It's going to be a money pit. So buying in the wrong area and chasing yields.
And that's just like last week. I had one that wanted to do 2 duplexes on Kansas, and I always joke, any house in Memphis on a state street.
Forget about it.
Florida, Kansas, Alabama, Mississippi.
Forget it.
You can. I mean, they're doable, but it's gonna be tough. And I tried my best. He was in California. He's like, I just see the numbers, and they look great. And I'm like, I don't think you understand this $350 rent aside. I said, I can do it. I'll find renters, but they're gonna be churning through there pretty quickly. Frequently.
Wearing the house.
Hopefully,
out.
We can do some due diligence up front. We can try to mitigate that by not putting in, just make the person be crystal clean.
Yeah.
But that's going to take that much more, more vacancy time, more due diligence time, and all that stuff. So, I think, but people still want to do it, and so, kind of going back to number 1. So if that guy bought 2 duplexes, I think that's fine.
Yep.
Then you can really, he's out $30,000, $40,000. Like he can at least sell them crash and burn for what, 20?
Yeah.
If you just have a fire sell them. So if you can just say, I'm throwing this money away to see what this return looks like, that's fine. But don't go buy 10 or 15 of those at one time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. My notes on here: understand what you're buying, know your markets, and if it's too good to be true, it usually is. That's exactly what you just said. So if you know what you're buying, and you understand that fully, that hey, I'm getting some 20-25% return on this thing, but I'm going to be looking at turnover once a year, sometimes more than that. I'm going to have 8 to 10 maintenance calls a year, or a month.
Right? Some cases.
If you understand that and you know what you're getting into, then I guess that's okay. But number 1, start off too fast. Number 2, buying the wrong area and chasing yields. Number 3, Dan, not using licensed contractors.
Man, I run into this.
You got some nightmare stories for this one?
Well, just, I think that a high percentage of the guys in town that bid this stuff, they put the minimums and they let it come back with change orders, or they never finish. They get this much money up front and they never finished. And so if they're not licensed, bonded, insured, there's no fiduciary, kind of like you being a real estate agent versus somebody's not a real estate agent selling houses.
A wholesaler.
A wholesaler. Like, you have fiduciary responsibility. You could go to jail. You could get fined. And so same thing with contractors. If you don't, and people are getting smarter about this. I mean, they've been burned, and they've read enough articles for bigger pockets and different stuff. So people are not as naive as they were, but there's still some that do fall into that trap. So, and I fight it a little bit, and fighting's not the right word, but in discussions with people when, this quote's bigger than this quote, and it's like, yeah, we can never beat a man in a truck.
I've heard you say that a lot.
I can't.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. But what happens when that guy falls off his roof, which one of our, partners that listens to the show that does similar business, he had a guy fall off the roof, and I mean, where does that lead? Like lawsuits, and that could turn down, shut down business. We read some articles our insurance guy sent us about shut down some businesses. So do you want to lose your whole fortune, your personal house,
Because some guy fell off the roof?
The odds of it happening are very slim, but it happens every day. Somewhere in the U.S. it happens. So, you got to think, you got to, hope for the best, plan for the worst is what I always say. That's why I would say licensed contractors is very important, because you have that fiduciary.
And I think, too, not using a licensed contractor, it's almost like selling drugs, You'll get away with it for a little while, but it's like that's going to catch up with you at some point. Licensed contractors, if you're not using them, can you get some jobs done? Absolutely. Yeah. But at some point, it's going to catch up to you, and you're going to get burned. The question is how bad,
and when.
And when. That's right.
I mean, we were in Jackson, Tennessee yesterday talking, and we met with a couple property managers, and that was their number one feedback, was just maintenance is a killer.
Really?
Yeah, just finding good people to do honest days' work for honest days' pay, and license and all that stuff.
Did your eyes just light up?
Yeah, that's right. Opportunity.
That's right. Guys, we're live in the studio this morning talking with Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty about top 10 mistakes that foreign investors will make. We've gone through our first three. We're going to come back and jump back into this, but it's a great conversation, Dan. I think this is good, especially for a lot of our out-of-town investors. Stay tuned with us. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on FM 107.9 The Voice.
Darling, don't you go and cut your hair. Do you think it's gonna make him change? I'm just a boy with a new haircut, and that's a pretty nice haircut.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
Now, here's Mid-South weather from News Channel 3's Severe Weather Center. Brought to you by the Crescent Club, hosting the people and ideas that moved Memphis forward for nearly 30 years. Poplar and I-240. Call for a free tour at 901-684-1010.
Sunny, breezy, and continued cool with temperatures holding in the 40s this afternoon. North winds 10 to 15 miles an hour this morning will settle down throughout the day. Clear and cold, we drop into the upper 20s tonight. South winds and sunshine will warm us into the mid-50s tomorrow. The cars you're looking for at a price you can afford. CK Auto Sales on South 3rd will help you finance your next car. Call CK Auto, 901-789-2507. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers. On The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions, and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
Picture your dream house. For you, it might be a sprawling property with mature trees and a winding driveway. Or perhaps it's something more cozy and closer to the mall. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage today. Tell us about your dream home. We want to make it a reality. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage at 206-930-1801 or visit spmc.com for more information. NMLS ID 1788 Equal Housing Lender. Investors or buyers, if you're looking for the best customer service and most competitive rates on a home loan, come to Brighton Bank. They offer a quick approval process, fast closing, and they even finance 85% of the purchase in most cases. At Brighton Bank, they work with every kind of loan: BAFHA, USDA programs, traditional conventional, financing programs, long-term fixed financial, and bridge loans made easy. When it comes to home loans, they mean business. Call them today, 901-758-1740.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Grab your pens, grab your notepads. It's time for some free money. Going to give away some good addresses here. The investment of the week. We've got two good houses. 3,000 block of Christine in 38118. 3-bedroom, 1-bath. This is a great buy. I love this. It's already occupied at 825 for $54,900. 3,000 block of Christine in the 38118 zip code. You guys have heard me say that's my favorite spot to start out in. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. It's occupied at 825 for $54,900. I really like that one. The next one here, a little bit higher end property. 6,000 block of Red Birch Drive in 38115. That is over at Kirby Parkway area. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's occupied at $925 a month for $79,900. It's a great buy. It's a great little area too. Nice brick home. 6,000 block of Red Birch. 3 bedrooms, 2-bath. It's occupied at $925 for $79,900. And then the first one more time. 3,000 block of Christine Lane in 38118. 3-bedroom, 1-bath. It's occupied at $825. Seller's asking $54,900 for that one. So 2 really good investments of the week. If you have any more questions about those, you can email me, dean@crestcore.com, or you can go to the website, www.crestcorerealty.com, and all of our investments of the week are on there. Before we left, we're talking about Dan Butler's live in the studio this morning. We were talking about top 10 mistakes foreign investors make. Number 1 was starting out too fast. Number 2, buying in the wrong area, chasing yields. Some of those houses that look great on spreadsheets can look great on spreadsheets, but that's the only time that they ever look great. And then not using licensed contractors. That was number 3. Number 4, paying 100% of the cost of the house in rehab up front. Dan, tell me why that's bad.
You know, over the last 6 months, I've probably had 4 clients come to us where they've paid for the rehab up front, closed it, paid for the cost of the house plus the rehab, and the rehab never got done.
Never. You know, there's somebody in town that's doing that, and I've heard of.
There's several. And so, you know, and that's why we wanted to make this for out-of-town investors, to think twice before they ever go into a deal where somebody's asking for 100% up front, you know,
because it doesn't, like, why, they don't need that.
No.
It's not, I mean, I understand some smaller outfits say, hey, I've got to have some money to go buy materials and get this job started.
Right.
I understand that part of it, but no one needs 100% of the job up front.
No. I mean, there's anywhere from a third to 50 or 60%. Just depends on who you're dealing with. And, you know, some people do different draw levels. You know, we do, you know, one big one up front, and then we don't ask again until we're finished because we're we want to be incentivized to be finished.
That's right.
But that's just one I just keep seeing over and over that you would, just I want to just caution our listeners and viewers, just, don't do it. Don't put all your money, or put another alternative, like put your attorney, give it to your, let your attorney be in charge of. Hey, I'm gonna pay you the rehab. Here's $20,000. Here's at Will Griffin Jr.'s office.
Yeah. And
we'll come up with a draw schedule, and when you get an email from me,
release it.
And I've done that with a few clients up front, when they first get to know us, especially from overseas. They don't know us from Adam. And so we'd put that money in escrow, and they would send the check from the... And to me, that I feel safe with that, as well as the contractor. You know what I mean?
I also... to me, it's a big thing of... if they... not only don't give it to them, but if somebody asks you for that up front, that ought to send up some red flags outside of actually handing them the money. You know what I mean? If they come at you and say, hey, the rehab's $10,000, so I'm going to need $10,000, that should draw red flags up big time of why, you know what I mean,
right.
About their entire business. So somebody's asking you for 100% of the rehab up front, you need to be cautious moving forward.
And what you see in those scenarios, I don't know the ins and outs because I don't see their books or anything like that, but it's almost like a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
They're thinking they will get to your house. You pay me that 100%. I'm going to get to it, but I need to close 2 more.
So I can have the money.
Somewhere they've sucked the money out along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so they don't have the money available to finish that rehab. And that's what you end up seeing. The what and why and how, all that stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just a common...
Huge red flag.
Huge red flag. That's right.
Number 4, we just covered paying 100% of the cost of the rehab. Be careful about doing that. Asking for referrals. And number 5, asking for referrals and researching team. I've always
not doing that.
Yeah, not doing that. Yeah. I've always, to me, I think you need boots on the ground. If you're not from Memphis, you're from out of town. You got to have somebody that can visit these properties, that can be your eyes and ears, that can give you a really good indication of what's going on in that house. What's some of the things you think of when you're thinking about not asking for referrals? I mean, when you say they don't ask for referrals, what are some of the things they certainly should ask for? Title companies, insurance.
Yeah, people that you work with to see, are you paying your bills? Are you a good partner? Do you have a good reputation in the community? How's your Google reviews? How's your BBB? And in property management, as you can imagine, it's very hard to have a decent level of like a Google review and a BBB. So you just need to see the intention of the client. Well, how do they handle those, and what's the proactive approach they have, and and just ask for people that actually have seen you do a rehab or seen you do managing the property or whatever it is you're working on. See you flip a house if that's your mode of business. So definitely asking for people that have actually done some work with you.
Yep.
Some recent, maybe some that have been 6 months ago.
Right.
Not just one that just finished up. So you want people that versus just coming in here, you saw something on the web, and for us, which is good, is just, we usually get a lot of referrals because somebody else has told them about us.
Yep.
And so to me, that's the best kind of lead for us. But don't just rely on that as far as your friend said, hey, CrestCore, hey, such and such is a good company.
You still got to perform.
Just ask more questions, go a little deeper, and make sure they're the right fit. So,
number 6, I like this one. Not understanding the property management or general contractor's process. Assuming this is one, especially with property management, that we get oftentimes. They don't understand different angles of it. What are some of the things that you see from a property management standpoint that people either don't ask or they don't understand before they get into this process?
What's all the costs associated with the rehab? They assume, a yard cut, you don't have to cut the yard. Well, here in Memphis, you got to cut the yard twice a month. They assume, we're going to put it to market for rent. And we try to do a very good job explaining up front, here's our processes and here's our flow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets missed in translation or whatever. So, or, hey, I thought you're going to, not pay this bill till whenever. And my whole thing is just don't assume. Go ahead and ask. Just ask the question of your GC or your property management company, because otherwise you're just assuming. And if you assume it, if you're in the head, I think they did this.
Right.
And then all of a sudden 3 weeks later, that's not what we did, then you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be upset. You know, there are all kinds of feelings.
I say this because no property management company does it the same. There's no
That's right.
there's no universal way that you have to do.
Yeah, some pay
or
on the
manage
15th,
property.
some pay on the 30th,
That's
some
right.
pay the 10th of the next month, some pay
Yeah.
by check, some pay by draft. I mean, you can't.
So understand. I guess my message to that is when you're interviewing. You know, I have investors interview me all the time. How can you help me? Well, when
Yeah.
you should interview property management companies, and I think you would agree that you should encourage them to interview more than one.
Sure.
So when you do, make sure you understand that each property management company does things different ways, and just make sure you understand it. Same with your general
That's
contractor.
a great point. That's probably the biggest of. Well, my old property management or my old contractor did it this way, and so
Right.
in their mind they're thinking we're going to do it that same way.
Right.
And for us, that process might be tweaked a little different. You know, like time you evict. Some companies do the 6th, some do the 10th, some do the 20th, some do the last day of the month. I mean, there's all kinds of.
Some wait for you.
Some wait for you to
Yeah.
tell them. You know, you have to report back in. There's all kinds of different ways. So, you know, and we're all trying to get better and better to get that information out in front of somebody. But you know, you don't want them assuming.
So make sure that you understand your property management company and how they do things. That, you know, when they collect rent, as Dan mentioned, when they evict, how, you know, this entire process, what they charge you. Even if you've never had another property management company, just make sure that you understand that one. Same with general contractors. They're going to have different ways. We spoke about that a little bit on the referrals. You know, they're going to want you to pay different ways, so make sure you understand their processes as well. Live in the studio this morning with Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty. We're talking about top 10 mistakes foreign investors make. Number 7, stop at 1 or 2 properties, but you have to shoot for 10 for scale. So some of the classic mistakes that I see and that you have always said, I mean, you've told me this from day one, until you get to 10, everything is magnified times 10. So
10 is just a minimum. I would say 20.
Yeah. So what we mean by that is if you're out there and you haven't started, or you've just started and you've got 1 or 2 properties and you have a hot water heater go bad, your whole life is turned upside down.
Yeah.
You're freaking out because you got to go spend $1,000 to get a water heater. Your profits are gone for the year. You're wondering if you should be doing this.
That's right.
What am I doing? You know, everybody starts freaking out. Well, if you've got 10, and I'll just use the number 10, you might
Sure.
be right. 20's probably, or
That's
even
fine.
15. But if you got 10 or 11, 12 of these things, and you have a hot water heater go bad, that's still bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you got 9 or 10 other rent checks that are coming in that month.
Help support it.
They can help
Yep.
support that. So don't stop at 1 or 2, unless, you know, I guess that's what you have your money for, and that's what you enjoy is just the 1 or 2. But if you're looking at this for long haul, starting a business, something you want to be around for 20, 25 years, don't stop at 1 or 2. Shoot for that 10 mark.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if I think about on our side, on the management side specifically, those with 1 or 2 are take up the majority of our time. And it's because of what you just said. It's everything's, you know, that much more escalated. An issue, can't pay my mortgage, you know, it's not going to have a return this year.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but you also pay down several thousand of principal. You know, there's all the big, you can use depreciation, you pay down principal, there's all kinds of tax benefits and all that kind of stuff, but people don't want to hear that. Like,
right.
And so from a big picture, you know, I just, you know, if I'm talking to people out there that are thinking about investing, you know, just get with your mentors and see what they say. See if they agree with what we're saying as far as going a little bit bigger and just 1 or 2, because 1 or 2 just ends up being, you know, more of an issue. Just go ahead and put your money in stocks, or go and put it, in, you know, in crowdfunding with a guaranteed 8% return to loan money to other people. You know what I mean? Like, that's less headache, less ups and downs, the emotional drag.
It's more consistent.
It's more consistent, you know. And I'm not saying don't do it. I just, you know, if I can talk you out of it and you're still here wanting to do it, I'm gonna help you. But
yeah,
I think it's just something to think about. Like, you know, it's just tough.
And I'm not saying, and I don't think we're saying, be in a massive hurry to get to 10.
No,
just
not at all.
continue and stay consistent
And build it.
methodical as you're going through your thought process and you're
Yep.
trying to build. I mean, not everybody can even get to 10. You might not have the financial ability to get to 10. Well, that's
right.
fine. Just understand what you're getting yourself into, that things are going to magnify a little bit more. But if you can get to that 10, we've talked about on this show 100 times about leveraging money and leveraging people. So, I mean, there's ways you can get to 10 without actually having to pay for 10, you know, right outside of your pocket. So stay consistent with that. Keep moving towards that 10-plus mark.
And I think to just further that a little bit, I mean, I think don't just rely on us. Again, I said that earlier, but just go out and seek guidance on that. See people that have done this before, and why'd you get in? Why'd you get out?
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in your journey? And I just saw it got more freeing as I got above 10, and only got better and better because you could just weather. Now there's a lot more risk from how much you got exposure for loans and that kind of thing, but
from a headache and a pain in the rear,
and
it's a lot less.
So then I guess the only other thing I'd add is just if you're going to do one or two, just make sure you have some reserve sitting on the side so that water heater doesn't
break you for the
don't
year.
break you for the year. That you're so stressed about making your next payment, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Number 8, going for the cheapest cost. I don't. This is a big one. I mean, I always have kind of used the rule of thumb: if you're going to get 3 quotes on a roof, take the middle guy.
Yeah.
And don't take the cheapest because there's a reason why he's the cheapest, and maybe the most expensive guy is just charging you too much, but maybe that middle person is giving you a fair, fair quote.
Well, I mean, that's for the GC, that's for the subcontractor, that's for property management.
We just had an experience
with that. Somebody wanted to do something that we're at 4%, and it's like for a huge apartment building, and you're like,
how in the world can this happen?
How in this world can There's no office payroll; it's all coming out of your office, and you got to realize you get what you pay for in those situations. What are you getting for that 4%? Because I can guarantee you, if the market's all at 8 or plus,
why is this person
so cheap? There's going to be a reason. Or if you get a quote for that roof, and everybody's $4,000, but you got this one guy it's $2,000. There's we've been doing this long enough that most roofers you're going to be within a few $100. Most painters a few $100. But if you got somebody that's way off. And I should probably do some math before another show here coming up, just what that percentage should be. Just off my cuff, I would say if it's more than 15% off, 20% off, do some digging.
What's he missing?
And that's what we've seen that with jobs we bid, for rent readies or rehabs that, we might be, 15% higher, but then you start looking at what they presented, versus what we presented, and we got. The cost is actually in what we're doing, not in the cost of the project. It's actually the scope of work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you're comparing apples to oranges versus apples to apples, and that's something that I always encourage people to do. Like, I mean, when I was in manufacturing, I would take somebody's quote, I'd chop off the prices, and always just hand the scope to the next guy. I developed it with the first guy. Took the name of the company, all the price, and here's what we're working on. Quote this.
Yeah.
And so I had the exact same quote for the exact same work. And that's, if there's anything I could teach, people, I would do something of that nature. And that actually happened with one of your clients. He went out and got another quote.
Yep.
And he took ours and got another quote and came back 2 days later, said, "Can y'all go ahead and start this work?"
Started.
And I never asked him. I wish I'd asked him what the pricing was, but we've just been doing this a long time and doing thousands of jobs. Where everybody's at. I mean, flooring is flooring. They're all within 25 cents. I mean, it's not.
There's no miracle.
There's no miracle. No, there's no miracle product that's going to come out, or some robot that's going to do that flooring for $2 cheaper. Something's not right. Something's not adding up.
So going for the cheapest cost is never the right thing to do. Number 9, if it's not working, waiting too long to pull the plug, every day you wait can cost you hundreds, if not thousands. This is something that I feel like I'm good at, is noticing when. And I got it from a bad experience that I waited too long on. So,
well, I loved it. Like the client Friday that texted me, and I forwarded it to you that, hey, I want to sell this. He's got 7 or 8 houses. We'll sell one. He knows that's a bad apple.
Yeah,
I loved it.
So he's pulling the trigger.
He's pulling the trigger. Let's get this one out. It's in Fraser. We know why, the area. He bought it in a package of houses, and he did his analysis and pulling the trigger. I'm doing the same thing with the guy on the 20th to review his whole portfolio. He's probably got 10 plus. There's 1 or 2 bad apples in that we need to pull out.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to do that.
Right. We kill deals all the time. I kill more for some investors than they buy.
Yeah.
It's just I know that it's going to be bad. I know that the rehab's too high. We can see it right now.
Well, there's one thing that, how long have I been doing this? It's 2001.
Yep.
And it took me to this year to really figure out, my stubborn, driven self that I can't will some of these houses to to prosperity. Does that make sense? I can't. I've made it as bulletproof with bars and
it's still not working.
And ceramic tile. You can almost hose down the house, and I'm still losing money. And it's because of the specific street, map code, whatever's going on, the demographics of that area, just will not allow, at this point in time, maybe that changes as Memphis continues to grow and has more activity. But
for now,
right this moment, so I got to sell that house. I got to move on.
That's right.
So,
number 10, putting yourself between the investor and the property manager or contractor. Tell me what you mean by this.
So, a lot of people from overseas and especially overseas, they're acting as liaison for somebody that actually owns the house. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a very dangerous spot to be in. Mm-hmm. Now they may have quote wholesaled it. So like a wholesaler in Memphis, they put us in with the client and they step out of the way, right? And they make their little fee and move on.
Yep.
In overseas world, they tend to put themselves in the middle, try to coddle them, help them out. And I'm saying, man, let them. They've got to learn on their own, because you're going to get lost in translation. Not to mention translation, but timing between when, say, we answer to get to the middle person to get to the owner. The owner then responds back to the middle person, then back to the. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like a group of kids sitting in a circle, and you tell the story on one end.
That's right. And it gets lost, and by the time you get to the end,
it's a completely
different story. So I just think that you got to have the investor stand on their own, and whether there's a language barrier or not, we'll figure that out. I think that's a big thing for us that I would recommend. Just sell the house.
Yeah.
Guide them a little bit on the front end, but let them start getting the emails and let them start getting the requests and let them start asking questions. Otherwise they're probably going to buy one or two houses
and be done
because they're frustrated. They don't understand.
Right.
They never learned it.
Right.
They got to learn how this market works, how real estate works, how property management works, and all that. So,
hey guys, we're live in the studio talking with Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty. We have been talking about the top 10 mistakes foreign investors make. We're going to take a real quick break and come back. We've just covered the top 10. We're going to take a real short break and come back and talk about why CrestCore can fit into some of these questions and things that you might have. So stick with us. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on FM 107.9 The Voice.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
Now, here's Mid-South weather from News Channel 3's Severe Weather Center. Brought to you by the Crescent Club, hosting the people and ideas that moved Memphis forward for nearly 30 years. Poplar and I-240. Call for a free tour at 901-684-1010.
Sunny, breezy, and continued cool with temperatures holding in the 40s this afternoon. North winds 10 to 15 miles an hour this morning will settle down throughout the day. Clear and cold, we drop into the upper 20s tonight. South winds and sunshine will warm us into the mid-50s tomorrow. The cars you're looking for at a price you can afford. CK Auto Sales on South 3rd will help you finance your next car. Call CK Auto, 901-789-2507. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers. On The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions, and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
Picture your dream house. For you, it might be a sprawling property with mature trees and a winding driveway. Or perhaps it's something more cozy and closer to the mall. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage today. Tell us about your dream home. We want to make it a reality. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage at 206-930-1801 or visit spmc.com for more information. NMLS ID 1788 Equal Housing Lender. Investors or buyers, if you're looking for the best customer service and most competitive rates on a home loan, come to Brighton Bank. They offer a quick approval process, fast closing, and they even finance 85% of the purchase in most cases. At Brighton Bank, they work with every kind of loan: BAFHA, USDA programs, traditional conventional, financing programs, long-term fixed financial, and bridge loans made easy. When it comes to home loans, they mean business. Call them today, 901-758-1740.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Dan Butler's live in studio, and we're talking about top 10 mistakes out-of-town investors make. We wrapped up our 10. We were going to get into why CrestCore and why CrestCore can help you with some of these things, but there's two more you wanted to point out real quick.
Yeah, I think that, one that's very important to us as far as just because we help people from all over the world is just understanding all of our cultural differences.
Mm-hmm.
I think about this, just if you pause for a second. Somebody in New York versus somebody in Georgia, versus somebody in California, versus somebody in India, versus somebody in Israel. They're all going to have different ways that they've grown up of how to treat, investing, how to treat people, how to interact, how to communicate. And so I just challenge our listeners on both sides. If you're a contractor or a property manager or dealing, an agent, understand what their culture, by asking some questions. How did you grow up in this, and how did you, how would your parents taught you to deal with stuff? And I just think that's a very important piece that I could help people walk away with. And, just be sensitive to that, understand it, spend some time, not just taking things at face value. Well, this is how we do it in the South, Yeah,
because I deal with people from all over.
Oh yeah,
and they,
somebody in New York just wants you to get right to the point.
Man,
for example,
there's nothing. Just give me the numbers.
And it's not bad or good or bad. It's just it is what it is. Give me the numbers.
And let's get off the phone.
Let's get off the phone, and I got my next thing to work on.
I'm actually fine with that.
Georgia, they want to see how,
Let's talk about
what's
the weather
neighborhood, what's the weather like there year-round? Is it a good place to live?
Yeah.
They want to know some more, touchy-feely stuff. And, we're making very generalities here, so let's disclaimer that. But
we don't have anything against Georgia people.
That's
but,
right. That's right.
But you are right. People in the South tend to, want to talk and chat a little bit more, but my northern investors, they are immediately right to it.
Yeah, in some cultures, there's some people out there that want to win at all costs. They've got to win a negotiation.
Oh yeah.
So what does that look like? So how do you help them win?
Yeah.
Without losing, if that makes sense.
It's a constant game of jump rope that I play all the time.
Yeah, and then the last one I just thought we'd leave with is just, finding a company with shared values. Somebody that you can partner with that shares the same values that you do. They actually live out what they say they live out, and you can do that by all of the things we talked about, references and checking online and seeing what content they have out there and stuff like that to see, do you gel with them? Is that somebody that you can see yourself? Because you're giving them $50,000,
a lot of money,
$1 million. There's all kinds of dollars, millions of dollars.
Yeah,
there's a ton of money out there that you're risking and putting out there.
I have multiple clients with several $1 million here. Yeah, so they've got to understand where I'm coming from. They know all about me and my family. They know all about my history here in the city. They know everything they can, that's relative about me in order to invest money here. So, no, you're exactly right with that. That goes right into our conversation or to our point about why CrestCore. Some of our top notes here were transparency and open communication.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's. I had a guy last night, or excuse me, at the end of last week, that just really hammered that home. That he's been investing all over the country, and that was the two things that's the only two things he goes. The only two things I'm looking for is this: being transparent and communicate with me.
Yeah.
He had people that he'd send emails to, and he wouldn't hear from for a week. That's just not acceptable in today's time.
No, there's too much that can happen during that
that's
time
right.
frame.
So, you got to make sure that how they're going to do that, how they're going to make sure that you're communicated with, how you make sure that you're taken care of, and so I think that's huge. What's their values? What kind of systems and processes? Are
they an investor first?
Yes.
Type of company, or is it?
Yeah, that's a great point. Are you an accidental landlord?
Right.
There's companies out there that I would refer you to that are better for the accidental landlord that built their business. Hunter, that's been on the radio 6 months ago. That was his business, was built on the accidental landlord.
Yeah.
Which means they tried to sell it, or they had to move real fast, or whatever, and they turned that house into a rental. They weren't really thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna build a portfolio of houses," but now I've got this asset that. I told a guy in California yesterday.
Yeah.
It's so funny how many conversations you have in a week.
Yep.
He's like, I got $30,000 in equity. I'll pose this question to you.
Okay.
So talk about that shared values of trying to get him to the right spot. He's like, he's got $30,000 of equity in a house in Cordova for a $1,700 rental. It's a pretty nice house.
Yeah.
Would you sell it now? I'm gonna throw this out to you. Sell it now and get that $30,000 out, which you got to go do something with, or would you put a renter in there, keep paying it off, and do you think that house is going to appreciate a little bit more because of the way the market's going?
Ooh, that's good.
I was posed this yesterday.
I'd have to
4 o'clock.
figure out what his cash flow was on that 1,700, because you can take the $30,000 and go buy, 2 smaller houses that could get you more cash flow. So
you just told people not to do that.
I mean, like take
the 20% down.
Yeah,
I got you.
No, I don't mean buy like
$15,000 houses. Good gosh.
No, man, I'm not.
That's what you leave people with.
Listen, we're into the show with go buy
$15,000 houses.
No, I'll let you do that if you really want to. But no, my thought was, go borrow and use that 30 for 2 down payments and see if your cash flow could be higher. So I'd have to see both sides of it. But my first thought would be to keep it and knock down that principal some more to where maybe you got up to around 50. That could
and you should appreciate a few more thousand over the next.
The Cordova
2
house
years.
will likely appreciate a little bit more versus your $60,000 house in Whitehaven.
That's right.
So I guess hang on to it for now. Maybe give it a year or so and just see what happens. So,
but I could have gone the other way. I guess my point on that is, does your client, who you're working with, have your best interest first?
That's right.
And I had to really subjectively give him the pluses and minuses to both so he could make an educated decision. But I wasn't just trying to get him to be a property management client. Does that make sense? To hurry up and sign on, and we'll get you rented, and we'll make 10% of your rent, for the rest, for the next year. But does that person have your best interest in mind?
In mind. Guys, we talked today about a little recap here. Top 10 mistakes that out-of-town investors will make. Starting too fast, buying in the wrong area and chasing yields, not using licensed contractors, paying 100% of the cost of the rehab up front. Number 5, asking for referrals, or not asking for referrals. Number 6, not understanding the property management or general contractor's process. Stopping at 1 or 2 houses, going for the cheapest cost. If it's not working, waiting too long to pull the trigger, and then putting yourself between the investor and the property manager. I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about these things. Yeah, our national investors are really should appreciate this. We really appreciate them being in town and their continued business with CrestCore. Guys, go to our website, www.crestcorerealty.com. Give that a look for today's investments of the week. I appreciate you, Dan, coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
All of our vendor partners for sponsoring the show. We appreciate that. So we'll see you next Tuesday, 8 a.m. It'll be the last show of the year. So it should be an exciting one. Guys, you got the Memphis Real Estate Hour on FM 107.9 The Voice.